Hi there. In this video we'll talk about the Soviet Tier 10 reward heavy tank, Object 279 early, namely I'll tell you why you don't need this tank. But first things first. For starters, let's remember what you need to do to get this wonderful at first glance tank. It's simple, you need to complete at least 135 missions of different levels of complexity. Undoubtedly most of these missions are very easy, and are completed automatically, but nevertheless it will take a lot of your time, not to mention hard missions like these. By the way, I recently got the Object 279, all the missions I completed by myself, honestly and tirelessly, and at the time of shooting this video I already have played over 130 battles with about 3,500 average damage. And I already have a fully formed opinion about this tank, that will probably help you to take a different look at it. Well, let's take a look at the armor, because this is, as is commonly believed, its main feature. In theory, the Object 279 is a pretty armored tank. So now you can see its frontal projection, where it averages between 260 and 300 mm for the AP shell. Obviously, the main feature of this tank's armor is the lack of vulnerability in the form of a bottom hull part, and it really is. You can also see that everything is red and supposedly this armor is very serious and strong. But this is all only in theory. But in practice this armor works effectively only against AP rounds with average penetration not higher than 270 mm. That is, all sorts of tank destroyers don't care about this armor, not to mention their golden rounds. As for golden shells of heavy and medium tanks, for them the 279's armor looks like this. In short, this armor is really weak. And to make it work at least somehow and absorb shells, you need to raise the hull forehead up to increase the angle, and thus strengthen the armor. In that case, you can rely on this armor. As for the sides, they're not bad. But because they have a strange shape, you will often be penetrated there at certain angles. Separately I would like to note the hatch. It's not big, but for some strange reason the shells get into it very often. Sometimes there is such a feeling that there is a magnet in it. In short, to summarize, the Object 279's armor is not bad in general, but to make it work properly you have to know how to use it, and it's certainly not overpowered, as many think. For example, here's a situation where EBR-90 pens me with every shot without any problems, because the hull is slightly tilted forward. And believe me, such situations happen pretty often. Or, for example, if you drive up close to some enemy, even Tier 8, he won't have a problem to pen you, because of the angle of entry of the round. I think you understand it. Okay, now let's talk about the gun. The 279 is equipped with a typical Soviet 122 caliber gun. Damage per shot is 440, damage per minute is 2600, and it can be improved to 3200. That's pretty nice, but obviously not the best performance. For example, the Chinese VZ-111-5A with 490 damage per shot is almost 3400 damage per minute. But as said before, it's still pretty good, and it's playable. Especially given the excellent accuracy and stabilization. In fact, it's a pretty comfortable gun that has no flaws, except for the terrible depression angle, that's only 5 degrees. Now about the mobility. Frankly, originally, when you first get the Object 279, its mobility is bullshit, and that's a fact. It's comparable to some IS-4. But this problem can be partially solved. Firstly, you absolutely have to use the turbocharger in the special slot. Secondly, on the fourth step of field modification choose the left improvement, that adds 4 km/h to the top speed. It's also highly recommended to train off-road driving and clutch braking driver skills, this is very important. Well, and at your request you can take the left improvement on the first step of field modification, it also makes sense, but I didn't do it, so as not to worsen the already not the best turn speed. With all of this the Object 279 becomes a pretty mobile tank, and its mobility can no longer be considered a disadvantage. So, let's summarize. Object 279 is probably the most overrated tank in the game. Undoubtedly, it's not bad. It has enjoyable gameplay, it feels good in current random, and it's simply a very strong tank. But excuse me, the missions you have to complete to get it are too hard. If you are purposefully trying to do these missions to get Object 279, I think you'll be very disappointed when you get it. It isn't worth the effort, and this is the main point. Moreover, many standard heavy tanks look much more interesting than the 279th. For example, the VZ-55, or the Super Conqueror. Well, I hope this video was useful for you. Write in the comments what you think about it. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope you found it useful. It's time to say goodbye. Good luck to everyone, and remember, don't play World of Tanks.